Hands behind your head. Face down. Now, do you hear me, you bastard? The shrill command erupted like a grenade blast in the middle of an otherwise quiet, leaf-dappled afternoon. The voice wasn't just authoritative. It was malicious, soaked in contempt and on the verge of exploding into raw violence. It tore through the tranquil suburban air of Oak Haven Drive, a tree-lined street tucked in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Maryland. A place where events like this were never supposed to happen. At least, not to people like that. The silence was broken again, this time by a brutal thud. A man's body was slammed onto the cold cobblestone sidewalk with enough force to knock the wind from his lungs. Sharp, white-hot pain exploded up his spine, rippling through his shoulders and down his arms. He gritted his teeth, determined not to cry out, to keep what little dignity he had left. "What are you doing loitering around here?" the voice sneered. "Spying on someone's house? Planning to rob them? Or are you working for something bigger?" A knee, heavy and merciless, dropped hard into the middle of his back, right above his kidney. It pinned him, flattening his chest to the cold pavement, forcing a harsh gasp from his lungs. His nose was pressed against the damp asphalt, and the smells hit him all at once. Dry oak leaves, gritty dust, last night's rain, and the acrid sting of new tar. Humiliation had a scent, and he was drowning in it. Cold steel bit into his right wrist, then his left. The handcuffs snapped on with cruel tightness, metal grinding into skin so harshly that blood began to well beneath the edges. How had this happened? How had a black man in his 50s, simply out for an afternoon jog in the neighborhood he had called home for nearly a decade, ended up cuffed, degraded, and treated like a common criminal? The officer above him was young, white, and smug. His baby face couldn't mask the aggression in his eyes, the intoxication of unchecked power, the sneer of someone whose authority was dangerously fused with bigotry. He stood over his captive, one foot braced on his back like a conqueror, the other hand gripping a Glock, aimed downward, ready to neutralize him at the first twitch. Was this some fatal mistake? A rookie overreaction? Or was it something far darker? An unmistakable display of racism and abuse of authority that has seeped deep into the very bones of the system? And who was this man lying face down, restrained and humiliated on a cobblestone street under a blue sky? Rear Admiral Samuel Sam Adabio, one of the most senior, decorated, and respected officers in the United States Navy. A commander of a powerful aircraft carrier battle group. A mobile military force capable of global intervention and deterrence. A man whose decisions could alter geopolitical tides. Now sprawled, bloodied, and disrespected on the sidewalk of his own neighborhood. Just 35 minutes earlier, the scene had been the picture of serenity. It was a crisp, sunny afternoon. The sky stretched clean and blue, the autumn air light with the scent of earth and fallen leaves. Sam was home in Chevy Chase, Maryland, a spacious, wooded, and meticulously maintained suburb bordering Washington, D.C., for one of his rare days of leave. After months deployed in tense, remote regions, drifting through contested waters, commanding large-scale exercises, leading sailors under pressure no civilian could fathom, he was finally back on American soil, back among the people he protected. And for Sam, there was no joy greater than doing something simple, something ordinary. A walk through his own neighborhood. No medals, no uniforms, just freedom. Wearing a plain gray tracksuit, scuffed but comfortable New Balance running shoes, and a wireless headset streaming a naval history podcast, he blended in like any middle-aged jogger. At 6'5", still strong and disciplined from years of military conditioning, he cut an imposing figure. His salt and pepper crew cut and sharp African-American features marked him as experienced, disciplined, and unmistakably respectable. But none of that mattered. Not here, not today. He was nearing the final stretch. Oak Haven Drive, just a few hundred feet from his red brick colonial home, when the screech of tires shattered the calm. A Montgomery County Police Ford Interceptor roared onto the street, braking hard beside him. The sound startled nearby residents who glanced up from their dogs and front lawns. Two white officers stepped out. The driver's tag read Officer T. Peterson. Young, lanky, fresh-faced, nervous in his own skin. The passenger, Officer M. Miller, was bulkier, built like a linebacker, with a permanent scowl carved into his face. "Hey man, stop right there, don't move," Peterson shouted, his voice cracking slightly. Sam paused, removing his headset. "Is something wrong, officers?" he asked calmly, his voice deep and level. A voice trained for diplomacy, for war, for high command. "We got a report about a suspicious person loitering in the neighborhood," Miller said, eyes narrowing. "Been watching houses, planning a break-in, maybe." Sam raised an eyebrow. "I'm just taking a walk. My house is down the road. 12 Oak Haven." He pointed to the two-story colonial with the flag fluttering in the yard. "Number 12? Miller scoffed, as if Sam had insulted his intelligence. "A man like you lives there? Don't play games with me. Maybe you're the gardener, or the help." The racism wasn't subtle. It wasn't even cloaked. It was open, raw, and radiating from every word. Ends. Sam's patience thinned. "Officer Miller, making assumptions about my identity or employment based on my appearance is unprofessional. I'm happy to provide ID to clarify things." "Oh look, we're being lectured now," Peterson sneered, egging on his partner. "We don't need to be polite. You're suspicious, and that's all the reason we need to question you." Sam's tone hardened. "May I see your badges and officer numbers?" Miller stepped forward, chest puffed, breath foul. "You don't demand anything. We ask the questions. Now, do you have a record? Are you carrying drugs or weapons? Speak up." Sam stood tall, unshaken. "I am under no obligation to answer such questions without cause or counsel." That's when Miller lost control. With no warning, he shoved Sam hard in the chest. The force staggered him backward. "What the hell are you doing?" Sam snapped, finally exasperated. "You dare speak to us like that?" Peterson screamed, as if he'd uncovered a terrorist plot. Together, the two officers lunged like rabid dogs. Despite Sam's towering build and elite hand-to-hand combat training, he did not fight back. He knew better. Resistance would escalate things. The system had proven time and again. Resisting, even righteously, could be deadly. But his calm was seen as cowardice. Miller swept Sam's legs, sending him crashing to the pavement. And so, we return to the present moment. Face down, cuffed, bleeding, the weight of a knee crushing his ribs. Around him, neighbors watched from driveways and porches. Some filmed, some whispered, some simply stared. The story of a black man caught lurking in a white neighborhood would spread like wildfire. But Sam wasn't just any man. Peterson leaned in, breath rancid with mint and cigarettes. "What's your name? Tell me now." Sam inhaled. Then, with chilling calm, he replied. "Before I tell you who I am," he said, voice like thunder in a bottle, "you should know this entire incident, from your threats and your assault to your slurs, has been recorded. Not just on your body cams, but on at least 5 of my neighbors' security systems. And you are both going to answer for it." The officers blinked. This wasn't the voice of a scared suspect. It was the voice of a commander, and it cut through their arrogance like a blade. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Miller snapped, unsure now. "A lawyer? Some damn activist?" "More than that," Sam said. "Call your shift supervisor, now. Tell them you've detained Rear Admiral Samuel Adabio at Oak Haven and Elm, and tell them to prepare for a very serious meeting, immediately." Panic began to rise. Peterson fumbled with his walkie-talkie. "Dispatch, this is Officer Peterson, 714. We've detained a black male for suspicious behavior. He claims to be Samuel Adabio." The silence that followed was deafening. Then a voice exploded from the radio speaker, terrified and furious. Samuel Adabio? Are you out of your mind? The Rear Admiral? Do not touch him again. You stay put. I'm on my way. If he has a single scratch on him, your careers are over. Peterson and Miller went pale. The realization hit them like a freight train. You really are that Samuel Adabio? Miller asked, his voice small. Sam said nothing. He waited. Moments later, an unmarked SUV roared up, flanked by patrol cars. Out stepped Montgomery County Sheriff Michael Donovan, followed closely by Lieutenant Davis. Their faces were stricken. "Rear Admiral?" Donovan cried. "My God, what the hell happened?" "Uncuff him," he barked at Davis. "Now!" Sam was released, bruised but unbroken. Donovan helped him to his feet. "I'm so sorry, sir. This is unspeakable." Sam's stare was razor sharp. "Sheriff Donovan, you don't owe me an apology. You owe this community answers. These officers were racist, violent, and reckless. If that's your standard, then we've got a real problem." Donovan turned, furious. "Peterson, Miller, you're both suspended. Effective immediately. Hand over your badges and weapons. Internal affairs will be involved. And so will the feds." The two officers stood motionless, their careers crumbling in real time. Sam, dusting himself off, spoke one last time. "Apologies are necessary, but they're never enough. I expect to see reform, oversight, accountability for everyone. And believe me, I will be watching." Then he turned, walked home, and shut the door behind him. The fallout was immediate, national, explosive. Officers Peterson and Miller were fired, prosecuted for civil rights violations and assault. The Montgomery County Police Department came under federal review. Sweeping reforms followed. New bias training, oversight boards, mandatory accountability. For Rear Admiral Sam Adabio, it was a brutal personal betrayal. But he chose not to retreat into silence. He used his voice, his power, and his dignity to demand better. For everyone. Because sometimes, even when you wear the stars of a Rear Admiral, your skin still speaks louder. And sometimes, it takes one man standing on principle to force a nation to face itself in the mirror.